Question 1. Which of the following best describes the concept of zero trust? A. All internal systems are trusted by default. B. Users must authenticate only once per session. C. No user or device is trusted without continuous verification. D. The firewall is the only layer of defense. Correct answer. C. No user or device is trusted without continuous verification. Zero trust is an architectural and operational model that removes the default trust given to any user or device, whether inside or outside the network perimeter. It requires continuous verification of identity and device posture. Is the device patched, managed, and compliant? Applies least privilege access, and often uses microsegmentation to limit what any session can access. In practice, zero trust means combining identity, MFA, single sign-on, device checks, MDM/endpoint compliance, context, time/location, and policy enforcement, conditional access, to decide access. It's not a single product, but a collection of controls and processes designed to reduce implicit trust. Question 2. Which attack involves tricking users into revealing confidential information via social interaction? A. SQL injection. B. Brute force. C. Social engineering. D. DNS poisoning. Correct answer. C. Social engineering. Social engineering exploits human tendencies, trust, helpfulness, fear, rather than technical vulnerabilities. Phishing emails, vishing, phone, and pretexting are examples. Attackers impersonate banks, coworkers, or vendors to obtain credentials or convince a user to perform an unsafe action. Technical controls, email filtering, URL checking, reduce risk, but robust policies, verify payment requests out of band, regular training and simulated phishing tests are essential to lower human risk. Successful attacks frequently combine social engineering with technical exploits, e.g., phishing that delivers malware. Question 3. A company needs to ensure logs are collected and analyzed centrally to detect security incidents. Which system is most appropriate? A. WAF. B. SIEM. C. IDS. D. VPN. Correct answer. B. SIEM. A SIEM, Security Information and Event Management, aggregates logs and events from diverse sources: firewalls, endpoints, servers, cloud services, normalizes that data, and correlates events to reveal suspicious patterns. G. Many failed logins across different assets, followed by a successful login and data exfiltration. SIEMs also provide long-term retention for forensic analysis, incident dashboards, and integration with SOAR playbooks for automated responses. An IDS detects specific network signatures but lacks the cross-source correlation capabilities of a SIEM. WAF protects web apps specifically. Question 4. An attacker injects malicious commands into a back-end query to access unauthorized database data. Which attack is this? A. Cross-site scripting. B. ARP spoofing. C. SQL injection. D. MAC flooding. Correct answer. C. SQL injection. SQL injection occurs when untrusted user input is concatenated into SQL statements without proper handling, allowing attackers to change query structure, OR 1=1 to bypass auth, or issue destructive commands. Defenses: parameterized queries, prepared statements, strict input validation, least privilege database accounts, and stored procedures where appropriate. A web application firewall can add a protective layer, but secure coding is primary. CQLI is dangerous because it targets the data layer directly. Question 5. Which concept ensures that sensitive data is protected from unauthorized disclosure? A. Integrity. B. Availability. C. Accountability. D. Confidentiality. Correct answer. D. Confidentiality. Confidentiality, part of the CIA triad, means preventing unauthorized parties from accessing sensitive information. Mechanisms include encryption, data at rest and in transit, granular access controls, RBAC/ABAC, DELP solutions, and proper handling policies for PII. Confidentiality differs from integrity, ensuring data isn't altered, and availability, ensuring authorized access when needed. Effective confidentiality requires both technical controls, crypto, IUTHESs, and organizational controls, policies, audits. Question 6. A company stores encryption keys inside a secure hardware device that prevents physical extraction. What is this called? A. TPM. CHESM. CSSO. D. UTM. Correct answer, B. HSM. An HSM, hardware security module, is a tamper-resistant device that securely generates, stores, and uses cryptographic keys so the private material never leaves the module in plain text. HSMs are used for PKI root keys, payment gateways, and high-value signing. A TPM is a smaller, device-level chip used for platform integrity and limited key storage. But HSMs are enterprise-class, BUS, with stronger physical and operational controls. SSO is authentication convenience. UTM is an integrated security appliance. Question 7. Which type of malware encrypts user data and demands payment? A. Spyware. B. Rootkit. C. Ransomware. D. Worm. Correct answer, C. Ransomware. Ransomware encrypts files or systems and demands payment, often cryptocurrency, for the decryption key. Modern strains also exfiltrate data for double extortion, threaten to publish sensitive info unless paid. Entry vectors include phishing attachments, exposed RDP, and compromised software updates. Defenses: immutable off-site backups, 3-2-1 rule, endpoint detection and response, network segmentation to limit spread, MFA for remote access, and rapid detection/containment. Question 8. A security administrator blocks USB storage devices on company computers. Which control type is this? A. Physical. B. Detective. C. Compensating. D. Preventive. Correct answer. D. Preventive. Blocking USB storage is a preventive control because it proactively stops insecure actions, introducing malware or data exfiltration via removable media before they occur. Implementation options include group policy, endpoint device control, and physically blocking ports. Complementary detective controls, logging attempted access, and administrative controls, policies, user education, help enforce and monitor the preventive measure. Compensating controls are substitutes when the primary control cannot be applied. This is a direct prevention. Question 9. What is the primary purpose of network segmentation? A. Increase internet speed. B. Hide IP addresses from attackers. C. Limit lateral movement in case of a breach. D. Improve physical access control. Correct answer. C. Limit lateral movement in case of a breach. Network segmentation divides a network into smaller zones, VLANs, subnets, microsegments, with controlled communication between them. This reduces the attack surface and limits lateral movement if an attacker compromises one segment. They cannot freely access critical systems in another segment. Segmentation strategies include ACLS, host-based firewalls, and software-defined networking policies. Segmentation also aids compliance and traffic management, but must be combined with proper rule design to avoid misconfigurations that create gaps. Question 10. During an incident, which step involves identifying the root cause and preventing the attack from spreading further? A. Recovery. B. Preparation. C. Containment. D. Lessons learned. Correct answer. C. Containment. Containment is the immediate response activity to isolate affected systems and stop further damage while preserving evidence for investigation. Actions include isolating infected hosts, blocking malicious IPs, disabling compromised accounts, and applying temporary firewall rules. Containment differs from eradication, removing malicious artifacts, and recovery, restoring services. A good containment strategy preserves volatile evidence memory, network captures, and avoids hasty actions that might destroy forensic data. Question 11. What does CVSS score help an organization do? A. Encrypt files securely. B. Prioritize vulnerability. Remediation based on severity. C. Monitor user behavior for anomalies. D. Manage encryption keys. Correct answer. B. Prioritize vulnerability. Remediation based on severity. CVSS, Common Vulnerability Scoring System, assigns numeric severity scores 0 to 10 to vulnerabilities based on exploitability, impact, and environmental factors. Organizations use CVSS to prioritize patching and remediation efforts. Higher scores indicate greater urgency. CVSS also supports consistent communication across teams and helps quantify risk for patch windows and compensating controls. Always consider contextual modifiers. A high CVSS in a non-exposed system might be lower priority than a moderate CVSS in a public-facing service. Question 12. Which combination reduces both SQL injection and cross-site scripting risks? A. Only WF. B. Input validation, output encoding, parameterized queries. C. Upgrade database engine only. D. Use HTTPS only. Correct answer. B. Input validation, output encoding, parameterized queries. SQLIE is mitigated primarily by parameterized queries, prepared statements that separate code and data. XSS is mitigated by output encoding, escaping untrusted data before rendering in browsers, and input validation. Defensive in-depth adds. WF and security testing, but secure coding practices are foundational. HTTPS protects data in transit, but does not prevent injection attacks. Relying solely on a WAF is risky. Code-level defenses are the most durable. Question 13. What is a compensating control? A. A permanent replacement for a primary control. B. A detective control only used for logging. C. A control that increases employee pay for compliance. D. A temporary or alternative control applied when the primary control cannot be implemented. Correct answer. D. A temporary or alternative control applied when the primary control cannot be implemented. A compensating control is a temporary or alternative measure used when the ideal control cannot be deployed immediately due to constraints, cost, downtime, legacy tech. It should provide equivalent risk reduction until the primary control is implemented. Examples: isolating a system as a compensating control until a vendor patch is applied, or using enhanced monitoring if immediate encryption isn't possible. Compensating controls must be documented, justified, and time-bound. Question 14. How do nation-state threat actors typically differ from criminal groups? A. They always demand money as their primary motive. B. They often have more resources and pursue political or espionage objectives. C. They only use phishing attacks. D. They are less stealthy than criminal groups. Correct answer. B. They often have more resources and pursue political or espionage objectives. Nation-state actors often have substantial resources, long-term objectives, espionage, sabotage, influencing policy, and access to sophisticated zero-day exploits. Their operations may be stealthy and targeted against critical infrastructure or intellectual property. Criminal groups are usually financially motivated, ransomware, fraud, and may sell tools on underground markets. Attribution matters because operational response, legal, diplomatic, defensive hardening, differs depending on the actor's profile. Question 15. Which technique defends against rainbow table attacks on stored passwords? A. Use salt when hashing passwords. B. Use MD5 for hashing. C. Store passwords in plain text in a vault. D. Shorten password length to reduce variability. Correct answer: A. Use salt when hashing passwords. Salting adds unique random data to each password before hashing, making pre-computed rainbow tables ineffective because the same password hashes differently per salt. Combine salt with a slow hashing algorithm, bcrypt, script, argon2, to slow brute force attacks. MD5 is outdated and insecure. Never store plain text passwords. Password hashing best practices also include peppering, secret server-side value, and checking against breached password lists. Question 16. Which type of attack leverages UDP-based services to amplify traffic and overload a target? A. SQL injection. B. DDoS amplification. C. Phishing. D. Man-in-the-middle. Correct answer: B. DDoS amplification. Amplification attacks exploit UDP services, DNS, NTP, memcached, that respond with much larger packets than the request. An attacker spoofs the victim's IP and sends many small queries to amplifiers, which then flood the victim with large responses. Mitigations include disabling open resolvers, limiting UDP-based response rates, ingress filtering, BCP38, to block IP spoofing, and DDoS protection services that absorb or filter attack traffic. Question 17. Why deploy a SIEM? A. To replace antivirus on endpoints. B. To store backups of all data. C. To provide VPN connectivity. D. To collect, correlate, and alert on security events across the enterprise. Correct answer: D. To collect, correlate, and alert on security events across the enterprise. SIEM systems centralize log collection, normalize event formats, correlate events into actionable alerts, and provide forensic search capabilities and reporting for compliance. They help detect complex attack patterns that single devices can't see and integrate with incident response workflows. CM complements, but does not replace, endpoint protection or backups. Proper tuning and log retention policy are crucial to avoid overwhelming noise and to retain useful context. Question 18. What is the main idea of defense in depth? A. Use one very strong security control only. B. Use multiple overlapping layers of defense so that a failure in one layer is mitigated by others. C. Focus all security budget on the perimeter firewall. D. Only secure physical access and ignore digital controls. Correct answer: B. Use multiple overlapping layers of defense so that a failure in one layer is mitigated by others. Defense in depth recognizes no single control is perfect. Therefore, multiple layers, network, host, application, data, policies, are used so if one control fails, others provide protection. Example layers: perimeter firewall, IDS/IPS, endpoint protection, application security, encryption, access control, user training. The approach balances preventive, detective, and corrective controls to reduce overall risk. Question 19. Which practice reduces supply chain attack risk? A. Verify integrity, checksums, signatures of downloads and evaluate vendor security posture. B. Only use open-source software. C. Stop updating software to avoid introducing new bugs. D. Share credentials with vendor for faster support. Correct answer: A. Verify integrity, checksums, signatures of downloads, and evaluate vendor security posture. Defending against supply chain attacks involves verifying downloaded artifacts, digital signatures, checksums, performing vendor risk assessments, security policies, audits, incident history, using reproducible builds, and limiting third-party code privileges. Also apply runtime monitoring to detect unexpected behavior and use least privilege service accounts for third-party integrations. Avoid blindly trusting vendor updates. Validate them and have rollback plans. Question 20. Asymmetric encryption, public/private keys, is particularly useful for what? A. Fast bulk encryption of large datasets. B. Secure key exchange and digital signatures. C. Compressing data for storage. D. Replacing MFA. Correct answer: B. Secure key exchange and digital signatures. Asymmetric cryptography uses public and private key pairs. Public keys encrypt or verify signatures. Private keys decrypt or sign. It's ideal for securely exchanging symmetric keys. TLS uses asymmetric crypto to negotiate symmetric session keys, and for non-repudiation via digital signatures. Symmetric algorithms are preferred for bulk encryption due to performance. Asymmetric systems are foundational for PKI, secure email, and code signing. Question 21. Which control helps prevent man-in-the-middle attacks on web traffic? A. Disabling cookies. B. Shortening DNS TTLs. C. Using WEP for Wi-Fi. D. Enforcing HTTPS with valid certificates and using HSTS. Correct answer: D. Enforcing HTTPS with valid certificates and using HSTS. HTTPS/TLS provides encryption and server identity verification via certificates. HSTS HTTP strict transport security forces browsers to use HTTPS and prevents downgrade attacks. Combined with certificate pinning or good CA practices, this significantly reduces MITM risk. Disabling cookies or shortening DNS/TTLS don't mitigate MITM. WEP is insecure and irrelevant. Proper TLS configuration, no weak ciphers, valid certs, is vital. Question 22. What is the first step in incident response lifecycle? A. Eradication. B. Identification. C. Recovery. D. Lessons learned. Correct answer: B. Identification. Identification is the initial phase where analysts detect and confirm a potential incident, determine its scope, and classify severity. Without correct identification, subsequent steps, containment, eradication, recovery, may be misdirected. Identification may involve alerts from CM, IDS, user reports, or anomaly detection. Good identification needs tuned detection, reliable telemetry, and established playbooks to quickly decide containment strategies. Question 23. How does DAC, discretionary access control, differ from MAC, mandatory access control? A. DAC allows resource owners to grant permissions. MAC enforces access based on system-assigned labels and is not owner-controlled. B. DAC is always more secure than MAC. C. MAC allows users to grant access to anyone. D. DAC is only used in military systems. Correct answer: A. DAC allows resource owners to grant permissions. MAC enforces access based on system-assigned labels and is not owner-controlled. DAC gives resource owners discretion to set permissions, file owners deciding who can read. MAC is policy-driven. The system assigns labels/classifications, top secret, and enforces access rules based on clearance and need to know, common in high security or regulatory contexts. MAC is rigid but enforces strict separation. DAC is flexible but can lead to permission sprawl. RBAC and ABAC are other models focusing on roles or attributes. Question 24. Which combination best describes factors used in MFA? A. Knowledge, ownership, inherence. B. Ownership, port scanning, IP address. C. Hashing, salting, encryption. D. VPN, firewall, IDS. Correct answer: A. Knowledge, ownership, inherence. MFA uses at least two of something you know, password, something you have, token, phone, and something you are, biometric. Combining these factors dramatically reduces account compromise risk, even if one factor is stolen. Implementations include password, TOTP app, or passwordless methods using device-bound keys. Beware of weaker second factors, SMS, that are susceptible to SIM swap attacks. Prefer app or hardware tokens. Question 25. Which defenses mitigate credential stuffing attacks? A. No HTTPS. B. Rate limiting, MFA, and login anomaly detection. C. Encourage password reuse across sites. Allow anonymous login. Correct answer. B. Rate limiting, MFA, and login anomaly detection. Credential stuffing uses leaked username/password pairs across many sites. Defenses: rate limiting and CompTIA slow automated attempts. MFA blocks access even with correct credentials. Monitoring for anomalous login behavior, unusual IPs or geographies, triggers secondary checks. Blocking reused passwords and enforcing breached password lists during registration also reduce success rates. Use of password managers and user education helps as well. Question 26. Why is long-term log retention useful? A. To reduce storage costs. B. To lower CM alert volume. C. To make systems slower. D. To support incident investigation and compliance requirements. Correct answer: D. To support incident investigation and compliance requirements. Long-term log retention preserves historical evidence for forensic investigation, supports regulatory compliance, PCI, HIPAA, and helps identify slow-moving or stealthy attacks that unfold over weeks or months. Retention policies must balance storage cost, privacy, and legal needs. Some logs may require longer retention than others. Logs should be integrity protected to serve as admissible evidence. Question 27. What is a primary security benefit of VLAN segmentation? A. Increase average internet speed for users. B. Reduce attack surface and limit lateral movement inside the network. C. Remove the need for firewalls entirely. D. Improve printer sharing performance. Correct answer. B. Reduce attack surface and limit lateral movement inside the network. VLANs logically separate traffic into isolated broadcast domains, enabling policy enforcement and reducing the ability for an attacker to pivot from one subnet to another. Segmentation is often paired with inter-VLAN ACLS or firewalls to strictly control allowed flows. Proper segmentation design minimizes blast radius during incidents and aids compliance by separating sensitive workloads. Question 28. In DevSecOps, what does shift left mean? A. Move security testing earlier into development lifecycle. B. Test only after production deployment. C. Cut security budget in development. D. Shift servers physically left in the data center. Correct answer: A. Move security testing earlier into development lifecycle. Shift left brings security activities, static analysis, dependency checks, secure coding reviews earlier in the SDLC so vulnerabilities are found and fixed when they're cheaper to remove. It integrates security into CI/CD pipelines, automated SAST, SCA, software composition analysis, and security unit tests, rather than leaving testing until the end. This reduces defect cost, speeds secure delivery, and encourages developer ownership of security. Question 29. To verify a digital signature on a file, which of the following is required? A. The signer's public key and the signature to verify authenticity. B. The signer's private key. C. The admin password for the system. D. A plain MD5 checksum only. Correct answer: A. The signer's public key and the signature to verify authenticity. Digital signatures are verified using the signer's public key, which checks that the signature was created by the corresponding private key and that the file hasn't been tampered with. The private key signs. The public key verifies. Checksums MD5 can detect accidental changes, but do not authenticate the signer. Proper PKI practices ensure trust in public keys via certificates and CAs. Question 30. What is the best immediate action after identifying a host infected with malware? A. Reboot everything immediately. B. Isolate the infected host from the network to prevent spread. C. Delete logs to remove trace of infection. D. Disable detection systems to reduce alerts. Correct answer. B. Isolate the infected host from the network to prevent spread. Isolation, quarantine, stops the malware from spreading laterally or exfiltrating data while preserving the machine for forensic analysis. Actions might include removing network access, disabling user accounts, or applying temporary firewall rules. Avoid rebooting or wiping the system prematurely if volatile evidence memory is needed. Follow incident response playbooks to collect memory dumps and preserve chain of custody. Question 31. What typically characterizes a successful supply chain attack? A. Direct exploitation of end-user device vulnerabilities only. B. Simple phishing campaigns only. C. Skipping security updates permanently. D. Malicious code introduced into a vendor's software or dependency that gets distributed to many customers. Correct answer? D. Malicious code introduced into a vendor's software or dependency that gets distributed to many customers. Supply chain attacks compromise a trusted vendor or component, so malicious code is distributed to many downstream customers via legitimate update mechanisms. Examples include tampered installers, compromised build servers, or malicious dependencies in package managers. Mitigations include verifying signatures, code audits, reproducible builds, vendor risk assessments, and runtime monitoring to detect anomalous behavior even from trusted components. Question 32. Which controls help protect APIs from abuse? A. Rate limiting, OAuth tokens, and input validation. B. Using HTTP 1.0 only. C. Enabling anonymous access for convenience. D. Running APIs over plain HTTP only. Correct answer. A. Rate limiting, OAuth tokens, and input validation. API security requires authentication/authorization. OAuth 2, JWT. Input validation to prevent injection and parameter tampering, and rate limiting to prevent abuse or brute force. Additional measures: API gateways for unified policy enforcement, logging and monitoring, and TLS for transport security. APIs are common attack surfaces. Weak auth or unvalidated inputs can lead to data exposure or control abuse. Question 33. What does the 3-2-1 backup rule state? A. 3 backups, 2 copies, 1 offsite. B. 3 copies of data, on at least 2 different media types, with 1 copy off-site. C. 3 sites for production, 2 for DR, 1 for testing. D. 3 backup retention tiers, daily, weekly, monthly. Correct answer. B. 3 copies of data on at least 2 different media types, with 1 copy off-site. The 3-2-1 rule recommends at least 3 copies of data, stored on 2 different types of media, disk, tape, cloud, with at least 1 copy stored off-site to survive local disasters. This strategy reduces single points of failure, media corruption, local disaster, and is a best practice against ransomware and physical disasters. Consider immutability or air-gapped backups for additional protection. Question 34. Which approach reduces BYOD risks while enabling mobile productivity? A. Ban all BYOD devices completely. B. Allow all BYOD devices with no controls for convenience. C. Share passwords across devices for simplicity. D. Deploy MDM, EMM, containerize corporate apps/data, and enforce conditional access policies. Correct answer, D. Deploy MDM/EMM, containerize corporate apps/data, and enforce conditional access policies. MDM/EMM solutions allow organizations to enforce device posture checks, deploy corporate apps in secure containers so corporate data can be wiped separately, and apply conditional access, deny access from non-compliant devices. This balances security and productivity. Full bans are sometimes impractical. Unmanaged BYOD increases data leakage risks. Clear BYOD policies and user training complete the technical controls. Question 35. How to reduce risk from malicious macros in email attachments? A. Disable macros by default, sandbox attachments, and block risky file types. B. Allow macros to improve user experience. C. Rely solely on user training. D. Use old antivirus only. Correct answer, A. Disable macros by default, sandbox attachments, and block risky file types. Macros are a common vector for malware. Best defenses include disabling macros by default, scanning or sandboxing attachments to detect malicious behavior, blocking risky file types .exe.docm from email, and using content disarm and reconstruction or attachment detonation. User training helps, but technical controls provide consistent enforcement. Layered controls reduce the chance of a malicious macro executing in production. Question 36. What does MTTR commonly stand for in incident/service metrics? A. Mean time to respond. B. Mean time to repair. Recovery. C. Maximum time to restore. D. Minimum time to react. Correct answer? B. Mean time to repair/recovery. MTTR typically means mean time to repair or mean time to recovery, an average time to fix a failed component or recover service. It's used alongside metrics like MTBF, mean time between failures, and MTTD, mean time to detect. In security, lower MTTR implies faster remediation and reduced exposure window. Improving MTTR involves automation, runbooks, and efficient change/patch processes. Question 37. Which best practices help protect cloud data? A. Encrypt data at rest and in transit, use least privilege IAM, and enable logging/monitoring. B. Store credentials in code for easy access. C. Share admin account across team for convenience. D. Disable auditing to save costs. Correct answer, A. Encrypt data at rest and in transit, use least privilege IAM, and enable logging/monitoring. Cloud security fundamentals include encryption, client or server side for data at rest, and TLS for data in transit. strict IAM, least privilege, role separation, regular auditing and logging, CloudTrail, Stackdriver, and enabling monitorings alerting. Secrets should be kept in secret managers, and MFA conditional access should be enforced for cloud consoles. Logging and monitoring are critical for detecting misuse and meeting compliance. Question 38. How does spear phishing differ from generic phishing? A. It is always a DDoS attack. B. It only uses SMS messages. C. It is targeted and personalized to specific individuals or organizations. D. There is no difference. Correct answer. C. It is targeted and personalized to specific individuals or organizations. Spear phishing targets specific individuals using reconnaissance to craft personalized messages, increasing the chance of success, e.g., referencing a recent transaction or colleague. Generic phishing is broad and untargeted. Spear phishing often precedes targeted intrusions like business email compromise. Defenses include email authentication, SPF/DKIM/DMARC, user training and policies for sensitive actions, call confirmation for wire transfers. Question 39. What is a key benefit of network segmentation when a breach occurs? A. Makes it easier for attackers to move laterally. B. Limits the blast radius and prevents easy lateral movement. C. Automatically removes malware. D. Deletes logs to hide the incident. Correct answer. B. Limits the blast radius and prevents easy lateral movement. Segmentation constrains attackers by isolating workloads and enforcing strict access rules between segments. If one host is compromised, segmentation prevents unfettered access to other parts of the network, buying time for detection and remediation. Proper segmentation paired with monitoring is crucial. Otherwise, misconfigurations could still allow lateral movement. Segmentation is effective for limiting exposure of sensitive resources. Question 40. Which action is not part of a proper change management process? A. Request, approve, test, implement, review. B. Document changes and have a rollback plan. C. Implement directly on production without testing. D. Schedule and notify stakeholders before a change. Correct answer. C. Implement directly on production without testing. Change management requires formal planning, testing, approval, communication, and rollback capability to avoid unintended outages or security regressions. Implementing changes directly in production without testing bypasses controls and increases risk of failures and security gaps. Good change management reduces incidents caused by configuration errors and ensures traceability for audits. Question 41. What is privilege escalation? A. Reducing user privileges for safety. B. Changing passwords regularly. C. Increasing log verbosity for debugging. D. An attacker or process elevates privileges from a lower level to a higher level. Correct answer. D. An attacker or process elevates privileges from a lower level to a higher level. Privilege escalation involves exploiting vulnerabilities or misconfigurations to gain higher privileges than initially granted. Local, user to admin, or vertical, horizontal escalation. Attackers often chain initial access with privilege escalation to control critical systems. Mitigations, patch management, least privilege, use of role-based accounts, auditing, and monitoring for unusual privilege changes. Question 42. How should secrets keys be managed in CY/CD pipelines? A. Store them in source code for ease of use. B. Use a secrets manager or vault and rotate keys regularly. C. Print them in logs for debugging. D. Email them to developers. Correct answer. B. Use a secrets manager or vault and rotate keys regularly. Secrets must be stored in dedicated secret management solutions. HashiCorp Vault, Cloud, KMS, AWS Secrets Manager, where access is logged, rotated, and access controlled. Embedding secrets in source control or logs risks leakage. CI/CD tools should fetch secrets at runtime from secure stores, and secrets should have automated rotation and least privilege access tied to service identities. Question 43. What is white box testing in penetration testing? A. Tester has no information about the target. B. Tester has full knowledge, source code, architecture to perform in-depth testing. C. Only tests the GUI. D. Immediate destructive attacks are performed. Correct answer? B. Tester has full knowledge, source code, architecture to perform in-depth testing. White box, glass box testing provides the tester with internal knowledge, source code, architecture diagrams, credentials, so they can perform thorough security assessments, find logic flaws, and validate controls. This approach is useful for deep code reviews and internal security assurance, complementing black box external tests which simulate external attacker perspective. Results often uncover complex vulnerabilities missed by external scans. Question 44. Which of the following is a physical security control? A. File integrity monitoring. B. Application whitelisting. C. Badge access, CCTV, and locks. D. Encryption keys. Correct answer. C. Badge access, CCTV, and locks. Physical security controls protect the physical environment. Access to data centers, office premises, using badges, cameras, locks, guards, and environmental sensors. These controls prevent unauthorized physical access that could lead to theft, tampering, or hardware compromise. Logical controls, whitelisting, FIM, encryption, protect systems and data even when physical controls fail, so both types are necessary. Question 45. When assessing vendor risk, which factor is most important? A. Vendor marketing materials. B. Vendor security posture, patch practices, audits, incident history, and compliance. C. Vendor logo design. D. Number of social media followers. Correct answer. B. Vendor security posture, patch practices, audits, incident history, and compliance. Vendor security posture, how they handle patching, vulnerability management, incident response, audits, SOC2, and compliance directly affects supply chain risk. A vendor with poor security practices can introduce vulnerabilities to your environment. Assessments should include questionnaires, evidence of security controls, contractual obligations, and continuous monitoring where possible. Question 46. How does penetration testing differ from vulnerability scanning? A. Pen testing attempts to exploit vulnerabilities. Scanning identifies potential vulnerabilities automatically. B. They are identical processes. C. Scanning is always better than pen testing. D. Pen testing only scans networks while scanning tests applications. Correct answer: A. Pen testing attempts to exploit vulnerabilities. Scanning identifies potential vulnerabilities automatically. Vulnerability scanning uses automated tools to identify known weaknesses. Penetration testing is a manual or semi-automated effort where testers attempt to exploit vulnerabilities to prove real-world impact. Scans are useful for breadth and ongoing checks. Pen tests add depth and risk validation. Both are complementary. Scans for regular coverage. Pen tests for focused assurance and exploitation validation. Question 47. What should a bug bounty disclosure policy include? A. Admin passwords to speed remediation. B. All source code published publicly. C. Step-by-step exploit instructions. D. Reporting steps, in-scope/out-of-scope assets, response timelines, and safe harbor language for good faith researchers. Correct answer: D. Reporting steps, in-scope/out-of-scope assets, response timelines, and safe harbor language for good faith researchers. A clear policy helps security researchers know how to report issues, which systems are in scope, acceptable testing boundaries, expected SLAs for acknowledgement and remediation, and a safe harbor statement to protect good faith researchers from legal action. A well-crafted policy improves collaboration and reduces accidental damage. Avoid exposing sensitive details such as credentials or internal processes in the policy. Question 48. Which trio of email standards helps prevent spoofing and phishing via email? A. FTP Telnet SMT, BSP FDKIM, and DMARC CTLS SSL SSH, DPO3 IMAPSMTP. Correct answer: B. SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. SPF specifies which IPs are allowed to send mail for a domain. DKIM signs messages cryptographically to prove origin and integrity. DMARC tells receivers how to handle messages failing SPF/DKIM, quarantine, reject, and provides reporting. Together, they reduce successful email spoofing and improve visibility into abuse. Proper configuration and monitoring of DMARC reports are essential for tuning policies without disrupting legitimate mail flow. Question 49. What is the primary objective of business continuity planning? A. Generate monthly compliance reports. B. Shut down all operations during an incident. C. Only backup email servers. D. Ensure essential business functions continue during and after a disruption and recover to acceptable levels. Correct answer: D. Ensure essential business functions continue during and after a disruption and recover to acceptable levels. BCP focuses on keeping critical operations available during disruptive events, with defined recovery time objectives and recovery point objectives. It includes continuity strategies, alternate sites, communication plans, and exercises to validate readiness. Disaster recovery is a component focused on restoring infrastructure. BCP covers broader organizational continuity, including people and processes. Question 50. Which modern password policy approach is recommended? A. Forcing password changes every 30 days, regardless of risk. B. Use short complex passwords to reduce typing effort. C. Store passwords in plain text for admin convenience. D. Encourage long passphrases. Check against breached password lists and require MFA rather than frequent forced changes. Correct answer. D. Encourage long passphrases. Check against breached password lists and require MFA rather than frequent forced changes. Current guidance favors longer passphrases, improved entropy, and memorability, blocking known compromised passwords at set and during changes, and relying on MFA to mitigate password theft rather than forced frequent resets, which can lead to weaker choices. Password managers and user education further improve safety. Forced frequent changes are only recommended if compromise is suspected.
Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful for you, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more practice questions and tips.